Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Q&A with the ever gracious E-Train. Chunk and Tallulah co-producing tonight, keeping a careful watch on the show. Glad to have you all in. Hey, Sky, how are you doing? Just said goodbye to family who was visiting for 10 days. Sad and exhausted at the same time, but worth the effort. Well, glad you got to
Sky,
spend time with the family.
Sky, I feel your pain.
Yeah, Ellen's been on the road visiting family.
My grandfather, which I know y'all all heard about. So, yeah, I just got back late yesterday and had so much to do when I got home, and I'm exhausted, but I'm working on it. And let's see, Melissa here says I keep forgetting that it's Tuesday. Thank goodness. I know alarms are a good thing.
And Carrie
Hey,
Berry's mom.
Carrie Berry's mom.
Good to see y'all. Good to have the gang reunited once again. Um, been a couple of interesting weeks. I know, Ellen was just mentioning that she was at her grandfather's and his wife just passed over the weekend.
Yeah, on
So
Sunday.
she was up there. She actually went into a hospice last week. She was up there helping him out. And so her poor old tired ass is back.
I'm exhausted. I was like, Clay, I apologize. Like, I'm not even showering. I am so tired. I'm going to get my equipment set up here. And if I'm on, it'll be a miracle. So here I am.
It's a miracle.
It's a
It's a
miracle.
miracle. Also, we had, part of the interesting week was that we got a
Thank you, Sky.
oh hell, I'm going to call her a sponsor and an advertiser and whatever.
Oh, yes.
Love
Melissa.
Love Pug Circus. Don't know if y'all can see that, but several pictures of her beloved pugs
And Green Bean.
and Green Bean, and then on the back is the Love Pug Circus. Now she's truly made Chunk and Tallulah's week because they have deeply loved some of these treats. This is a freeze dried just chicken, and they'll go nuts over it if they don't get the Stuffies dog treat. I don't know. This is pumpkin maple bacon flavored.
It's
But
bacon.
Toulouse will jump 5 feet in the air to try to get a hold of this before I bend it down and hand it to her. They are huge hits with the pups, along with their little Metro balls. They have 2 of them now they're playing with. Hopefully, it keeps them occupied for the night.
We'll see. I
So,
might be throwing quite a few things. But Clay, oh gosh, you got to say it. The sea
SoCal,
candies, the SoCal sea
the sea
candies. Clay
candies.
thought those were for the dogs. And I was like, no, I think that's human food,
I
human
believe it is
sweets.
assorted chocolates.
Hmm.
Last I heard, dogs love chocolate.
No, you don't give puppies chocolate. Hey,
And hadn't
KP.
tried this yet. This is
Hmm.
a dehydrated whole food, whole grain beef recipe. Just add water and love for a homemade meal. Hadn't tried it, but that looks interesting as hell. So,
Now, Clay might actually try to eat that. That's kind of,
if I'm not cranking on a can of soup,
I don't know how he survived when I was out of town. I don't want to know what he ate.
soup's good for you. It's all the basic food groups:
Well,
preservatives, fat.
I thawed bone broth for him, and he managed to make a soup out of that, which I'm very proud of you, by the way.
I
That was a
did
big
good.
step.
I chopped up some potatoes, onions. I should use that on the recipe night. Show off my culinary skills.
Who made the bone broth? Me.
Me.
Okay. It's human grade. You could totally eat it, and he probably will. He Listen, it would not surprise me one bit. Not even a little.
And hey, KP, how you doing? Good to see you.
There was
Glad that.
one thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There was one thing I had to put on there for dogs. I don't remember what it was, but I was scared you were going to eat it that I put in the fridge. And then you were like, "Well, it smells good." I'm like, "No, no, this is dog food. Don't eat it."
Was it the
What is
real meat treats?
Did you eat some of those already?
No,
Okay.
but I hadn't even opened these for the dogs yet. So,
You're
but
holding
that
back,
also
huh?
was in there. But they're kind of real meat made in the USA. Really simple philosophy. Carnivores eat meat.
They do. All right, Carson Pratt, our
Our
chaotic
chaotic
good
good
Canadian has
Canadian.
arrived.
You
Yes, you
know,
have.
chaotic and Canadian in the same sentence. I don't know if that actually applies. Y'all are generally the most polite, nicest people on earth.
Yes, but Carson loves to get us derailed. He just thinks it's hilarious to get us on like 10 different topics at one time, and we never even remember what we were talking about in the first place.
Like we need help getting derailed.
Well, Carson likes to do his best.
So
And he was actually, we were talking because he was saying that his sister was at one of the bases here in North Carolina that has changed names from Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty.
yeah, I'm sorry. It'll always be Bragg, Lejeune. It's just, yeah. I just don't even think of them in any other terms.
No, I had totally forgotten that they had changed it. I was like, oh yeah, forgot about that. Easy,
What
buddy.
is
You all
that?
right? That is Chunk coughing, I think, a little bit of felt because he was chewing on the ball. There's some water right there. He's fine.
Hugs and love to you with everything going on. That's very kind of you, Carson. We do
Thank you.
appreciate your support and your thoughts, good karma, prayers.
Anything.
As we do for y'all when something comes up. So that's kind of one cool thing about this group, this channel, is that everybody really is just truly good people. I know I've said that before but it's still kind of surprising me to be on the internet and never having met people in person and yet still be able to develop a relationship with them and care about them and be concerned about them. And yeah, I mean, it's really like you get to know them and I think part of it is because today we have lost the ability to communicate. And when you're online or chatting or on the phone with somebody, you're forced to communicate, to talk and share. And you actually probably get to know more people than you do just being at the office or in society. Because a lot of times you'll just pass people by. You don't pay them much attention or just extend minimal courtesies to them. So it's a fascinating phenomenon to me and still one that I'm trying to adapt to. But y'all make that adaptation a whole lot easier. Clay, we really got to talk about food. Yes, we do.
Cooking food.
And how about October 26th, Thursday night?
Are we gonna cook?
That's the book club. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
We've got a recipe club that's coming up too.
And we'll let everybody in on that as well. So y'all can
Yeah.
see how goofy we are when we cook.
I'll show you one of my famous soup recipes. But book club, October 26th, 7:00 here live. It'll be a Thursday night, kind of a special Thursday night. And the book is Sherlock Holmes. What is it? A Scarlet Thread?
I don't know. I clearly have not looked at the book yet.
So
I know it's the first one in the series. I do know that.
A Study in Scarlet. I keep wanting to say, because, I think of A Scarlet Letter. And I get stuck on that. But Sherlock Holmes: A Study in Scarlet. It's the first book in the series, in the Sherlock Holmes series. So that's where we're beginning. We can have a money can, like
Con.
crime can.
Con.
Crime con?
It's con.
Conference?
No, okay. Can someone explain?
This is a YouTube thing.
No, there's Comic-Con. There's Crime Con.
Oh, I didn't know there was a crime con. Comic-Con, I know.
Okay, same thing. So it's con, not whatever you said. A money con. We all get together and discuss money. Are you following the trend there?
I'm a little slow, but yes, I'm following the trend.
Okay, so we got book club. We are 2, and Sky Ricky, A Study in Scarlet, and The Sign of 4.
Should we do
Very
both
cool.
books? Probably ought to just go with the one and see how that goes first.
Isn't that it's the same book, right?
No, they're 2 different books.
All right, well. Okay, so Melissa is all for it.
We have no idea how this will go. I have never participated in a book club before. I don't know if anybody else has. So I'm reading the book now. I'm about 7 chapters in.
See, they're in the same book. Told you.
Only if you buy both.
They're
I think
they're
actually separate books, but sometimes like volumes will have different books in it.
Well, Melissa is off. Who wants to do both? Put a 1 in the chat. If not, put a 2. How about that? Yes, we do.
Yep.
We definitely do. Mm-hmm.
We do.
He's a bit chaotic. Bless him. We love him.
Yeah. I would have no qualms about doing both. I just worry about there's only 3 weeks left. So are people going to have time to, read both books? Don't know.
What does
time
this mean?
To bring bottles into the depot?
Must be a Canadian thing.
We're getting some ones here. That means people want to read both books.
Please keep reminding me
about book club. I'm knee deep into Clan of the Cave Bear right now.
Sounds good.
Not sure what that is, but I dig the title. Hadn't read that one. And
read.
Well, maybe we ought to do both. I did
Whatever
not
I can get on Audible. I think you can get it on. It's free at Guggenheim, you said?
Yeah.
There's
yeah, there's all sorts of free copies. Kindle, they're free or 50 cents, something like that. So it's really cheap to get a hold of.
And Carrie Berry, I'm with you. If I have to hear it, I can't. Usually, if I want to remember something, I have to listen to it while I'm reading it. That way I've got 2 senses doing this one thing, and so the other 4 can have to take a back seat. They have no choice. So.
Well, yeah, I believe there are Audibles out there.
Oh, yeah.
Have not looked, but I'm 99% sure you can get some Audible versions out there.
You can probably even
cheap, if not free.
You can probably look on YouTube. There's a lot of books actually people read on YouTube, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
that's interesting. Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Some other things interesting going on in the week. I don't know how many of you have really tracked or paid attention to the Fed, but this is a graph called a High-Low Open Close chart of the S&P 500, which is kind of the main primary market index. I don't know if y'all saw today, but the Dow Jones was S&P 500 was down 65. NASDAQ was down a little over 200. So all the major indices were down.
Clay.
But the interesting thing,
Clay, I got to interrupt you
ma'am.
real quick. What is I can't read the dates on the bottom. What is this between?
Okay, this is basically between June the 1st and today.
Okay.
So the interesting thing is, for the past year, the Fed's been hiking rates, and everybody's, we talked about the Treasury curve being inverted. Do y'all remember that? Here we've got the short end of the curve, the 3 month, 6 month, 1 year. This is the 1 year right here. And all the short-term rates are higher than the 10-year, the 20-year, and the 30-year. Now, the green line is what it is today. This gold line is what it was a month ago. And you can see that the long end of the curve, the rates have increased.
Hang on. They look very similar. What makes the green? What do you have to explain that to me? The green versus the gold.
The green is today.
Okay.
Again, this is
the whole
like
thing is 1 day.
No, this is the 1 month rate. This is the rate, interest rate on the Treasury 1 month bonds. This would be 3 month, 6 month, 1 year. Okay. This goes down to, this is the 2-year rate, 3-year, 4-year.
So the points are different.
6 years maturities.
Gotcha.
Here is the 20-year, and this is the 30-year. Okay. Does that make sense now?
I'm with you, Scott. I'm trying to ask questions.
Well, that's part of this channel is
please ask questions.
Yeah, we don't have good gossip, rumors, or what do you call it when you pass a car wreck? Can't think of the term.
What?
Well, you know how there's something about it that you just have to watch.
Yeah.
I can't think of the term. But
it's like a train wreck. You got to watch it.
Yeah, you learn information which ultimately will inure to your benefit.
If you understand it, and if you don't,
the thing
ask questions, please.
We cover these things repeatedly because the first time you see it, it may not be fully understood or whatever, but the more you see it, things start clicking, and then you can start using them.
Okay, wait, Scott, this is the problem. Okay, because if he doesn't know, I tell him every day, make it simple. You got to simplify. Most of these people have never, ever taken a finance class. Just take it down a notch. So if he doesn't know, if Clay doesn't know what you don't understand, I guarantee you most of the people in here right now don't understand it either. So make him break it down where you will understand it. These are Treasury bonds, correct?
Okay, let me start over.
Okay.
But let me say this at first. The purpose of this is to help y'all understand and learn. And so I may be explaining something that I think is straightforward or intuitive, but it may not be. I really don't necessarily think about it once I start talking. I just get in a rhythm and I go. So when I say something that does not make sense, stop me, because I suck. I'm not lying. I truly, truly suck at mind reading. You can just ask Ellen or any of my exes. They'll all vouch for me. Especially over the internet. I can't even see your face and tell if you're questioning or concerned or the nose is screwing up. So if something doesn't make sense, just do what Ellen does and goes, wait, Clay. So you're not going to bother me. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. He and I have discussions about this, and then he assumes that y'all know more than I do about any of this. And he's like, no, that's a simple, yes, you do. You're like, that's a simple concept. It's no big deal. I'm like, you don't understand. It's not that simple. It's simple to you, but it's not simple to the rest of the world. And the point of this channel is to help you guys understand all this stuff.
We want to have a little fun. We want to spread the quan, and we want to learn a little bit as we go along. So that's what we try to offer. All right, let me start off.
Hang on. Please do not be afraid or ashamed or embarrassed to ask a question. We will think
Ever.
no less of you. Trust me. And your question is probably right in line with everybody else's too.
All right. U.S. government borrows money. It collects so much in taxes, it spends twice as much, so it has to borrow the difference. Well, when we talk about borrowing, how do they do that? Well, they sell bonds. They borrow money from individuals and institutions, pension funds, from China, from Japan, Saudi Arabia, other countries, wherever. And they sell that debt. They borrow that money or sell that debt, as it's known, at different prices. Those prices are rates because they have to raise so much money at that maturity. And so that it's a market effect, supply and demand. They have to offer a high enough rate or yield in order to attract money, in order to entice people to lend them money.
Okay, go with the if you were going to lend somebody this amount of money, what would you want in return? That's a good sort of analogy for this.
Yeah, if each of you had $1 million and I wanted to borrow $1 million. Now there's, however many of you out there. And I'm like, okay, I'll offer you 0% interest. Would you lend me your $1 million or any portion of it?
For how long?
For 6 months.
No.
Most people would say no. 6 months, a year, 3 years, whatever. Really doesn't matter. Most people would say no. Okay, how about 1%? Most
For
people
6
would still
months?
say no. Because you got to
6 months?
remember that interest is still taxable.
True.
So you have to pay, you only get what's left after taxes. Okay, so I don't get any at 1%. So how about 2? Some people, start listening, but nobody's really offering. So I go to 3. Okay, there's a few people that maybe are willing to lend to me at 3%. And then I have to go to 4. So at 4, historically, over the past 75 years, if there is no inflation, if there's no default risk, if you're guaranteed that I'll pay you back, that 4% rate is generally where I would raise the $1 million. Not that anybody would give me all their million, but some of you might do 50, some of you might do 100, whatever. I could piece together the $1 million at around 4%. That's the historic risk-free rate. Over most any 75 years.
So
And
what you're saying is that most anyone would lend someone risk-free $1 million or whatever the amount is at 4%.
You could
they
raise your $1
knew
million.
They were going to get it back.
Yeah, that was the market equilibrium where supply equaled demand. Now, that rate has fluctuated a little bit. And these past 13 years, the Federal Reserve has forced that rate down to near 0. So that forcing of the rate down to 0, and particularly how they forced it down, is kind of gotten us in the mess we're in today.
How did they force it down?
2
And
things.
when you say the rate, are you talking about the interest rate, the treasury rate? What is the rate that you're specifically talking about?
Well, I was talking about what we call the short-term risk-free rate,
The 4%
which we
rate.
use as a proxy, the short-term treasury. Okay. So if I wanted a proxy for the risk-free rate,
short-term treasury, what does that mean?
I'm getting to it. Give me a second, impatient one.
I'm trying to.
This is our usual conversation. The short-term risk-free rate, we don't really have a precise short-term risk-free rate. It's theoretical. we infer it from various things, but we use as a proxy short-term treasury rates. So somewhere between the 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, depending on who's doing it, they'll use that as the proxy. So right now, the short-term rates are around 5.4 to 5.6. So we'll say right now the proxy for the risk-free rate, we'll split the difference, 5.5. Does that make sense? That would be our estimate for the current value of the actual risk-free rate. That would be a proxy for it.
Okay. And again, kind of like you're saying, none of these go below 4%.
Right now, no.
Right. Today. This is just today.
This is just today. And traditionally, the short-term rate would be lower than long-term rates because
Your
time
money's tied up more for a longer
equals
time.
uncertainty. And uncertainty is risk. You don't know really what's going to happen 5 years, 10 years, or 30 years down the road. And so for that level of uncertainty, for that level of risk, normally investors will charge a higher premium. Well, if you look at this, what we call the term structure, this is the line chart of all the treasury rates currently.
Hang on. Meaning if you're going to go buy a treasury bond today, this is the interest rate that you're going to get.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I buy a 1-year treasury, if I bought it today, I would get 5.46%. Okay. Now you'll notice this curve, this green curve, I'm going to take off the gold one right now.
Okay.
This is today's rate. This curve, the short-term rates are higher than the long-term rates. This is the 20-year, this is the 30-year. So you get a higher interest rate for 6 months or a year than you do for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years.
Can I ask you a question about that?
That's called an inverted curve.
It is an inverted curve. The question I have is that we know the government's or threatening to shut down, right? We are in ridiculous amount of debt. We are selling these treasury bonds, right?
Well, let me get you to hold your question. Let me finish this point. Okay.
I'll forget it. Okay.
No, you won't. Or you'll come up with another one.
I sure will.
But the important thing is the shape of this curve. Right now, it's inverted. Short end is higher than, I'm pointing to it. Short end is higher than the long end. What that means is the market expects short-term rates to be higher. And when that happens, it means generally that that the risk is higher short-term, that inflation is a problem short-term. So the Federal Reserve, which, started this hiking business, all along for the past year has been hiking rates. Well, investors and all the brainiacs out there trying to prophesy the future have, for the past 6 months, said that, hey, the Fed is about done. We're near the peak. We're going to have a soft landing. And a soft landing means that there won't be any recession, that the Fed has just done everything perfect. Go ahead.
What is this? I know this is the S&P 500, but what are you trying to show with this?
Well, if you
and
give
why
me
does it
a
have
second,
crosses on it? Well, you showed it before. Maybe I missed something.
Second, I'll tell you.
Clay, people are not going to ask questions if you give me a smart ass answer every time I ask one.
Well, I'm about to make the point.
Well, okay,
about
good.
To answer the question.
This is 6 months worth, right?
No, this is from July the 1st.
This
So
is
June the 1st,
3 months.
June, July,
So
August, September. So
4
three and a
months.
half months.
Okay. Whatever.
Well, you'll notice the market still was rising as the Fed was hiking rates, which to me was kind of stupid. And I pointed that out in some of the videos or shows that we had at the time. But anyway, on July 26th, 27th, the Fed released a statement. And in that, they changed their perspective. They said, we now believe, and they indicated it with their future projections, that we'll have a soft landing. And that day is this right here, the peak of the market. Since the Fed said, hey, all is well. Have y'all seen Animal House? Tell me you've seen Animal House. What's the Kevin Bacon? Speaking of bacon, remember Kevin Bacon out in the street yelling, all is well, as chaos was just busting out all around? Well, here the Fed goes, all is well. And then, despite all the brainiacs prophesying that we're going to have a soft landing, the market has continued to trend downward. It has dropped to where it's about 7.5% down now. And remember, 10% is a pretty decent correction. Not uncommon. In a recession, you could probably expect 15 or 20% down. Severe recession, 30% down. So to me, it's kind of fascinating that it's since the Fed has come out and said all is well, that the market has dropped 7.5%. It's like that's a flag to the market that we're really screwed. And we might as well go ahead and beat the rush. The informed investors are starting to withdraw their money. That's a little different. Bankruptcies are starting to rise. Rate cut expectations. More and more people are now expecting higher for longer. And that's why I put up this 1 month curve from a month ago. You can see how the yields, let me take that down. You can see how the yields have increased just over the past month. Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
You said my name. You called out my name.
Nothing. Go ahead.
No, what?
Nothing.
All right. So I thought that was interesting. And, most people don't really pay attention to how much the market has dropped over the past 2 months, but 7.5%, is a pretty decent drop, particularly when the news, if you watch the mainstream news, they're all excited. They're all talking about a soft landing. Will be no recession. Well, the Treasury bond curve is begging to differ. And the stock market is finally showing some strains and some inclinations that may be what the market is expecting. Basically, the market is not trusting the Federal Reserve. And if the market is doubting the Federal Reserve, maybe you should too.
Here's my question. That was not my original question, but still another question. With all of the uncertainty in the market, of course, we know where the market's going. This is not financial advice. There are people who can weather some of the ups and downs, depending upon how old you are, what you have in the market. Is there time to recover before you retire? Do you need the money? Blah, 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 blah. With the way that the world is headed right now, do you think that it's possible for the market to recover at all?
Anything's possible.
Is it likely?
I mean, I think there's a fairly stout recession ahead. I think there's increased chaos ahead. So, that normally doesn't bode well for the markets. The markets hate instability, particularly political instability. Is there any nation that is becoming more politically unstable than us? And I mean that sincerely.
No.
But political stability is considered to be a huge risk by investors. They hate political instability. So if they hate it, they're taking their money to a safe haven.
And
They'll be buying treasuries.
and one of the reasons I assume that we're actually doing all this, selling of treasuries, especially at the rate that we're selling them, is because that we are borrowing that money to send to other countries like the Ukraine. Correct?
Well, I mean, we do, send Ukraine money. No doubt about that. We've sent them 150 billion so far.
And also I know taxpayer dollars are paying for the immigrants, the illegal immigrants. I don't feel good about any of it, but that's just my personal perspective. I don't know.
Well, there's just a lot of uncertainty going on, and my point is it's increasing. There's a lot of contention right now, and my point is it's increasing. There's a lot of pain right now,
Yeah, there is.
and my point is it's increasing. I just saw where there was an article in the Wall Street Journal talking about the silver tsunami. Did anybody see that today? They were talking about the homeless. Boomers are becoming the largest homeless group in the country.
Wait, the boomers that have most of the wealth.
Ages 57 to 75.
That's crazy.
Because many of them, the thing about the wealth is that there are some boomers who have a lot of wealth. But the average boomer, the normal John Doe who worked at blue collar worker all of his life, put a couple kids through, school, whatever, didn't really have much opportunity to save or didn't save much. And so they're on a fixed income, primarily Social Security. And over the past couple of years, food prices have soared, rents have started increasing. Their income has not increased. They don't have any flexibility, so they're being forced out. They don't have alternative sources of income or means to make, side income. To show you how bad it is, the article pointed out in the early 1990s, 11% of the homeless were age 50 or over. By 2003, that number had risen to 37%. Now, keep in mind that included the era of the dot-com bubble, which busted, and then 9/11, which caused calamity in the markets. So those people that did have some retirement put aside or saved, a lot of that just vaporized by 2003.
And then 2008.
And then 2008 hit, and then the COVID, the inflation, etc. Now, estimates are that over 50% of the homeless are over age 50.
Wow.
And that growth shows no signs of slowing. Now,
I also saw today where rents are up $400 over last year.
Yeah,
last year you could still buy a house for 2.65%. Now it's 7 or above.
Yeah, it's closer to 8 right now. And for people on fixed income who are renting, once their rent gets adjusted upwards that much,
They can't do
with
it.
food costs having increased so rapidly, they're torched. They just simply don't have the means to continue to afford it. And historically, this kind of homelessness for old people has never occurred. For all of history, almost, kids would take care of their parents. Kids were the retirement plan, and particularly in agrarian societies like China. China still has been largely an agrarian society. And most of you are probably aware that China had a one-child policy. They got rid of it about 5-6 years ago. But they had a one-child policy for, what was it, 20 years?
Yeah, at least.
And during that time, when parents found out they were pregnant and had identified the sex, if it was a female, they commonly would choose to abort it because males were the ones responsible for taking care of the parents, and the males are the ones who could help out on the farm. So there is a excess of males in China and a dearth of females in China. If you're female, that's kind of good news because your value has soared. Because there are so few of you, they're now commanding very high dowries. They get to pick their mates, something that they've never done before. And they just have a whole lot more options. They have a whole lot more power and influence now. But, the over 50 homeless problem is getting severe, and it's only going to get worse. There's just not a whole lot of ifs, ands, and buts about it. Which, if these people are homeless, if they can't even afford rent, then what does that imply for the economy as a whole? And one reason rent is increasing so much, you kind of alluded to it a few minutes ago when you talked about immigration. You've got 20 million illegal immigrants in the country, and now you see the government and cities and states renting places for them. Was it Chicago that even kicked veterans out of a hotel in order to make room for illegal immigrants? And I'm not knocking illegal immigrants that want to be here and live free and be an American and all. But kicking out veterans who have, spent their life serving this country, working, paying their taxes, kicking them out on the street, I got a problem with that. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I was watching a YouTube channel, and I think you may cover some of this on Saturday. Today is Tuesday, right? Sorry, on Saturday, about what's happening with immigration. And there are entire hotels rented out or purchased by NFOs or the NGOs, non-government organizations. Yeah. That are just putting up these immigrants. They're like a block from Times Square, and they filled the entire hotel. And this guy's job, and I would like for us to cover some of that Saturday, was to basically take them wherever they wanted to go and give them whatever they needed and
Yeah.
feed them. And they paid nothing for housing, and none of them wanted to get a job. And that is what the governor is now, and the mayor of New York City are now complaining about. They're like, what do we do with all these people? They're like,
And
well,
that,
you signed up to be a sanctuary city, so there you go.
and as an economist or finance person, it's supply and demand. You've got 20 million more people looking for a place to rent. So what does that do to the demand for
But
rental
they
space?
aren't even paying for housing.
Well, somebody is. The government is. So
No,
there's
we
still
are. Taxpayers are.
that's the government. So these people, 20 million additional renters in the country. So when you think about the price of rent being driven up, It's a supply and demand issue. Right now, demand is soaring, and there are 20 million people needing rental space that otherwise wouldn't. That's something that can't be ignored. Whether you're, pro-immigration or not, you're having people who can't afford rent.
Because they're paying for illegal immigrants.
Because you've got 20 million more people that need rental space.
Yeah.
So, what do you do with these problems? I mean, there's not a simple or sweet or gentle solution. You can't magically wave a wand and increase rental space overnight. So your choices are you throw people out on the streets or you cut immigration, try to get it under control. That's really the only two choices. I don't know of a third. If somebody knows of a third, I'd love to hear it. But it's a problem. It's a problem. And that is going to contribute to, remember I talked about how chaos is increasing, how pain is increasing. A lot of these old boomers are going to go vote. And who are they going to vote for? How are they going to vote? Well, are they going to vote for the party that wants to increase and allow millions of people to come across the border unchecked? Are they going to vote for the party that promises them the greatest aid? What if both of those are the same party?
What if they're separate?
Well, in this case, they're really the same party.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's chaos. That's going to foment anger, particularly as those numbers continue to grow. There's not a simple solution. You can't promise people more money, which they need, when you penalize those who produce and give them even less incentive to produce more, and even discourage them from producing, which encourages early retirements. How many doctors have retired because they get tired of the headaches and their income continuing to be cut?
Oh, tons.
Tons of them retired. So what does that do to availability to try to get a doctor's appointment?
Makes it go down. Less chance.
I've heard a number of people talk about how difficult it is to get an appointment with certain types of physicians.
Oh, especially gynecologists.
Yeah.
Because the OB insurance to cover if anything goes wrong is astronomical.
And a lot of them have given up OB.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked in surgery for a while, in both working my way through college, and then when my mom got Lou Gehrig's, I took some part-time call. But I was talking with one of the surgeons in the mid-late 90s, and he was saying his OB premium was $150,000 a year. He charged about $3,000 per baby. So that was 50 babies a year he did just to pay his OB premium. It just wasn't worth it to him. It was too much risk. It was the most litigious area in terms of medical malpractice. And I had peace in my life and fewer bills. So you can ignore the problems, but there's still problems. And that's one thing, we want to bring out is try to encourage and elicit discussion on the problems. Not that we have all the solutions or the answers. We have opinions. You may agree with them or not, but
I have major opinions.
That's okay.
Clay knows this. He's like, oh God, I got to hear it again.
I believe most everybody, when they're confronted with the issues, they have opinions. It's just whether or not they're willing to express them, talk them out, think about it, respectfully disagree with somebody else, try to arrive at a workable solution.
I have, I have strong opinions, and sometimes you and I debate them, but I'm always willing to hear another side that I haven't thought about. I know you are too. Um, and I guess that's what makes, you know, eh, everybody's got an opinion. They're like
That
a-holes.
that's what we want to encourage.
Yeah. And
Is
seriously, y'all, we do not want to be a channel where y'all don't understand what we're talking about or what he's talking about. I hardly understand what he's talking about most of the time. So please, 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 if we can make this easier, we would love to. If we can somehow simplify this where it makes more sense, please tell us. Um, we do want to grow this channel because we think that financial information is pretty important for you, for your parents, for your children, for your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, whatever. I have seen many channels where it's really hard to understand what's going on with the markets or finance or, most people don't invest their money because they don't understand what's going on. I don't. Clay knows that. I'm an idiot when it comes to finance. I'm trying to learn through him, but I have realized that I have to ask him a lot of questions to be able to understand what's going on because he's been doing it for so long. It's just really easy for him and the concepts just kind of come to him and most of us haven't dealt with that. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to help you understand or not even the concepts, just okay, this is basic finance information. Let's start with this and what's going on with the markets and how can we help you? That's
Well, let's
kind of
just
why
be
we're here.
perfectly clear. Ellen's not an idiot. Everybody's got their gifts. She just doesn't have any background in this. And presumably, a lot of you don't have much background in this. That's okay. That doesn't make you an idiot or stupid or whatever. Only if you're content. I mean, it's what I tell my students. You're only an idiot if you're content to remain that way. When there's information that you could take advantage of, information that works to near to you and your family's benefit, and you avoid it, ignore it, don't take advantage of it.
But
Now,
if you
one
don't
thing that we
understand it, hang on. But if you don't understand what is, you know, going on here, then let's make it easier. Let us know. You can even, DM me on Twitter. I am Ellen at Ellen Lee 05. You can just send
yeah,
me a
we
message.
want your feedback. We want your
Mhm.
comments, questions. We want your, could you try this? We would love to hear back from you because this really is about you.
Yeah, or
Now,
break
we
this
did have
down in a way that's simpler, or I didn't understand this part, whatever it is.
yeah. Now, I did have one question because I've kind of recommended investing in short-term treasuries versus leaving it in a 0.5% savings account at the bank. I was asked, how do you invest in treasuries? Well, there's two ways. One, you can buy directly from the treasury. Go to the website Treasury Direct.
I think I may have misguided you there. I think the question was more why and not how.
All right. Well, since I'm talking about how, let me go ahead and do the how.
Sorry.
That's all right. Um, so you can buy directly from the treasury. You go in and right down here where it says open a new account. If you haven't bought treasuries before, you just click on open a new account, and here are the steps. You are opening an individual account. Step
Can you
2,
make
you
it
need personal
bigger?
information. That
There we go.
better?
Yes, thank you.
Step 2, you need personal information. You'll need your social security number, email address, and you need your bank account and routing number. Those are two separate numbers. And this is an old check, but if you've got an old check, you've got probably three numbers down at the bottom of the check. The first one, separated by the tricolon, is the routing number. The second one is the account number. The third one is the check number, if there is a third one. And that's an old checking account. It's closed, and the bank has a different routing number for deposits and withdrawals now. So if somebody wants to hack my account, good luck with that. But that's all you need. And step 3, you need to choose a password, okay, and a security question. So it's easy to do. It's pretty straightforward. The preferable way to me is open up a brokerage account. I recommend generally Fidelity. So if you just Google Fidelity, open an account. And this also is included on the How to Begin Investing video that Ellen is going to get out any day now.
Oh, shit. Sorry, y'all. I've been out of town with my grandpa. I forgot. Melissa, I'm sorry. I haven't. We promised Melissa this for like how many months? You
What's
finally
this
got
week,
it.
Kimasabi?
You finally, jackass. You finally got it made, but he's doing something different, and I got to go through and do all the things. And
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Any
My
day
bad.
now. Any day now.
Any day now,
This
sweetheart.
the
That's what he always
second
tells me.
category. Open a brokerage account. Just click on that. Watch the internet do its thing. Loading. Are you Fidelity customer? No. Open account takes a few minutes. Next. And then you need kind of the same information. You'll need your name, social security number, your bank routing number, because you can electronically attach this account to your checking account, and you can move money for free electronically back and forth. So you'll have a little phone app, or you can go online and move money from one to the other. It may take overnight or a couple of days, but that's usually not a problem. If you need it immediately, you can pay a $15 fee and get it done. So you put in all your information, you open up an account. Then once you have that account open, you send money to it. It can be as little as $50. You can open it with zero. That's one reason why I use or recommend Fidelity. They'll open it with a zero balance. You can move as little as $50 into it, 100, whatever. Take whatever, move it up there, and then use that money and buy a treasury.
Do they pull some of the money from people who don't
No.
have?
If you're buying a treasury bill, it's an individual. It's just like an individual stock. You own that treasury bill. It's not a pool.
Question.
There are mutual funds that invest in short-term treasuries, but unless you're going to hold it for years and years and years and just get the yield off of it, I think you're better off just buying an individual bill. Your yield will be a tad bit higher, and it will mature at face value. So if you buy $1,000 T-bill, you'll buy it at, I don't know what the price is, $950, and 6 months later, it'll mature at $1,000. Always matures at the full value. So if you're buying treasury debt under a year, you'll buy it at a discount. You'll pay less for it, and then it matures at the full value, $1,000, let's say. And that difference between what you paid for it and what it matures at is your interest.
It's the interest. Okay.
Yes.
So you just buy it at a discount,
if you buy,
and then they
right,
promise to give you the full value of it at the end. Okay, that makes more sense.
Exactly. If you buy a treasury debt longer than 1 year, it has a separate coupon payment. So you'll pay, let's say, $1,000 for it. For 5 years, you'll get a separate coupon payment and interest payment every 6 months.
And we talked about that last video or 2 videos ago.
And then when it matures, you get your $1,000 back. So under a year, discount. Over a year, separate coupon. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. To me, it does. If it doesn't to y'all, please let us know. But I think the question was why treasuries right now over anything else?
because they are safer than anything else and they're higher yielding than most anything else in terms of money market or savings accounts or deposit. You also can vary the maturity. Remember, you talked about you can get treasuries for 1 month, for 2 months, for 3 months, for 6, whatever. There's all sorts of maturities out there.
So the highest rate is 6 month.
No, right now,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
6 month. So you may, if you can put your whole savings amount in a, let's say, for example, a 6-month security treasury bill. If you need it sooner than 6 months, you can sell that treasury bill. So they're very liquid. They have a very, very small or tight commission. We'll just call it a commission. In the business, you call it a spread.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Well, you buy it at something called the ask price. You sell it at something called the bid price. So the
Okay,
ask
wait,
price
wait,
is
wait.
always a little higher than the bid. So if I was buying a treasury bill, I might pay $950.50. If I turned around and sold it immediately, I would only receive $950. That difference is called the spread. The $950.50 is the ask price. The $950 I sell it at is the bid. So the bid and the ask are just the two different prices. You buy at the ask and sell at the bid.
Are you pointing at me?
Yes.
I'm like,
There's nobody else here.
Are you like doing some Saturday Night Fever? What's going on? Okay, so my question is, let's say I bought a 6 month and sold it after 3 months. Would you lose the 50 cents still, or are you gonna get money if you?
Well, what it would be is in 6 months, if you sold it in 3 months for a 6, I think KP's heading out. So KP, sweet dreams to you. Good to see you again. Thank you.
I'm just sitting here a message right now.
So if you buy a 6 month at $950.50, and then 3 months later, you need to sell it. Well, you'll probably sell it for, let's say, $975.50.
Okay, so you're not going to lose.
It's not.
Oh. Okay.
Remember the teeter-totter?
I know teeter-totter.
So if interest rates, short-term interest rates went from 5.5% to 20%, you might lose a little. But the chances of that are really, 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 really slim. If you hold it to maturity, you're going to get your full $1,000. But the maturity is so short that teeter-totter has very little room to move versus one with a long maturity. I love, do y'all like my hand motion here? I feel like kind of like
I can only see one of them. You're like doing the.
Okay. But, think of the length of the teeter-totter is maturity. So a very short maturity teeter-totter is a very short teeter-totter and swings very little as rates shift. Okay. So, the chances of you losing something would be minimal. The amount you would lose would be minimal. So a minimal chance of a minimal loss. Thank you, Sky Ricky. You're very kind. I do appreciate that.
He's a phenomenal teacher if he knows his audience and knows what to say, like what he has to teach. Does that make sense?
I don't know about that, but I
You
give a
can
damn.
make things simple, and you do. But you know, Clay and I have had so many conversations about, all this finance stuff, and he has to really break it down for me sometimes, and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't get it."
Yeah, I have to go to academic conferences, and I can always tell when somebody's insecure about their subject is how they communicate it to others. And if they're using, trying to use a lot of technical terms, big words, however you want to describe it, then generally those people are rather insecure. They're trying to discourage questions. They try to make it seem so complicated, so technical that nobody wants to embarrass themselves by asking a question. And then I look at somebody like Albert Einstein, who by most accounts was, considered to be relatively intelligent. And you look at his explanations for stuff. They were very simple, very concise. He was not wordy. He could condense great thoughts into a simple expression. Even the one thing that he is best known for is a formula that everybody knows. E equals MC squared. That's beautifully simple. It's elegant in its simplicity. And I think that's a great way to describe genius. Brevity or conciseness is the grace of genius. If you know what you're talking about, you don't have to try to confuse other people.
That's one of the reasons I named my daughter what I did. Her initials are EMC.
Should have gotten married to another C. That way it could have been EMC squared.
I know, right? I should have married a guy that had a I can't say it, hyphenated name, CNC.
I don't know many guys that have a hyphenated name. Good luck with that.
Well, because if their parents married and she wanted to keep her name and his, and they had hyphenated,
Yeah.
hyphenated.
Oh.
Hello, Ellen. I've been in Lincolnton too long. Hyphenated last name that was like two C's, like
Yeah.
Cole, whatever. Cole.
Yep. But so why buy treasuries?
Clay's like, Ellen, shut up.
Sometimes she gets a little ADD and wanders off the reservation. So why buy treasuries? They're safer and give you a higher yield. Always sounds funny when I catch up and hit 1x.
Well, depot and bottles. What are you talking about, Carson? We were like, what? You got to explain that one.
Yeah, not sure exactly what that was.
You got some splaining to do, Carson.
So I hope that answered the question of why and how to buy treasuries. Sam. Bankman Fried.
See, thank you. Thank you, Melissa. They did a guy with Latin.
Melissa, I just tried giving you a good plug at the beginning of this too. That's what I get. Knew a girl with the last name Champion.
I was going in
a guy
order.
with the last name Dyke.
Yeah.
Considered a hyphenated last name. I would pay money to witness that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
see, there are hyphenated last names. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the support.
One dude who's a crook.
There are others.
Like?
What's wrong, Chunk? I could look it up, baby. I'm so tired. I don't want to.
Chuck's whining because he's not getting enough attention.
I'm not sure what it is he wants. He's just staring at me like
attention.
Yeah, he freaked out when I came
in
home.
Canada, we pay a deposit on bottles that we get back when we return them to a depot. And one of my friends with a restaurant has me pick up his empties.
Nice.
We used to have that. Now we would be able to take them back to the grocery store, and the grocery store would credit us. It was like a nickel a bottle, which wasn't an insignificant amount then. I wish we'd kind of go back to that because I really am not a huge plastics fan. It's convenient, it's easy, but we could do with a lot less plastic. I would not mind carting glass back and forth.
It does make a difference in the budget, definitely.
And to me,
It is-
glass is just better.
But they pay
I
it
don't
up
have to worry
front.
about it. Do what?
They pay it up front.
Yeah. When you used to be when you would buy a Coke, a bottle of Coke,
Mhm.
they would charge you a nickel extra for the bottle. And then when
See,
you
I
brought
thought
the empty bottle back, you would get that nickel back.
I have been fooled this whole time. I thought it was you just took the glass back and they would give you money for it, not that you paid for it up front.
Yeah, you pay for it up front. It's a deposit.
Birds.
So if you're buying, a case of 30, it's an even exchange. So, yeah, it was a deposit.
Yeah, we recycle too. Unfortunately, we have learned that our county just takes the recycling and throws it in the dump. So
Yeah, there's not enough demand for recycled plastics apparently. And a lot of the plastics you actually can't recycle. They're not of the quality or they don't recycle well.
But I look at the
So,
numbers and make sure we're doing the right thing, but they still just take them to the dump.
yeah, a lot of the recycled stuff ends up in the dump. There's just not enough recycling plants. There's not enough demand for it to build more plants. So,
Let's see what we got.
10 cents under 2 liters, 25 over 2 liters. Now, that's in dollars. Or is that in Canadian dollars or US dollars? I'm not sure. But either way, it wouldn't be a huge difference. Ellen mentioned the budget shutdown earlier.
The government shutdown. Yeah.
Yeah, most people may not be aware of this, but right before we came on the air, apparently Senate Republicans and Democrats hammered out an agreement.
Canadian dollars.
Okay, thank you. Hammered out an agreement that sends $6 billion to Ukraine. Democrats had wanted $20 billion. Now, my opinion, is very little chance this passes the House or gets sufficient Republican votes. Yeah, this is in the Senate, and the Senate Republicans are much more tolerant of spending and supportive of funding Ukraine than those in the House are. So the news kind of touted this, but I think it's probably much to do about nothing. I'm not sure it's going to get through the House, so we still have a stalemate.
What now the House does first, then Senate, right?
No, tax bills have to originate in the House. Spending bills, not necessarily.
Okay, because McCarthy, because he's, head of the House, or head speaker of the House, he was saying that everything they've put through to the Senate that they have
killed.
Yeah. So
yeah, the Democrats won't support any cuts in spending. And the conservative Republican groups are tried to pass, for example, one thing that they tried to get the Senate to agree to, one bill was that to limit spending to 2022 spending across the board.
2022 spending, what?
Yeah. So instead of increasing everything, it would get the same level of funding it got in 2022.
Okay. What does that, I'm sorry, let's talk. Okay. So they're going to send $6 billion more to Ukraine.
2 different bills.
Okay. Because the Republicans were asking for the border to be handled.
Okay, different. There have been a lot of bills flying around. The one bill that was agreed to by Senate Republicans and Democrats tonight or this
Mhm.
afternoon included $6 billion for Ukraine. The Republicans in the House don't want anything going to Ukraine. And like you mentioned, they will try to gain control over the border. And one thing they proposed was approving a spending bill at 2022 levels. So
Right.
that included nothing for Ukraine and did include the funding for the border. I see him.
He's whining. So
He wants
nothing for
whatever
the
you got on top
border.
of the chest.
They,
No, 2022 spending on the border.
okay. Which was astronomical.
I don't remember the level.
I can't. I don't agree with any of it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, another bill the Republicans proposed included 30-day funding with 8% cuts across the board. So for the next 30 days, every agency would have its budget cut 8%, except for defense.
Like ICE,
Obviously, that would
Homeland
not go over.
Security.
Yeah, every agency would have an 8% cut.
Nice.
And the conservative groups in the House are mad at McCarthy, who's the Republican leader in the House.
Oh, Matt Gaetz is like ready to kill him.
Yeah, on his breaking his agreements to cut spending. He's kind of worked and agreed with the Democrats to increase spending for Ukraine and some others. And so they're threatening to push for his removal as House leader. They want an actual appropriations bill, not just a continuing resolution, which continues spending for a short term. They want an actual appropriations bill for the year. And they also want to eliminate the weaponization of the FBI and DOJ.
Weaponization meaning?
And end woke policies in the DOD. The weaponization is where for example, the DOJ a couple of years ago tried to prosecute and limit contributions to conservative fundraising. Some of the political activities of both the FBI and the DOJ have kind of worked against conservatives. There has been accusations of a weaponization against political opponents. That would be a subject for a whole different show on the details, but there's a fair amount of evidence out there. And so they're concerned that these two agencies are becoming political arms of the Democratic Party.
I believe that, unfortunately, just because of what we've seen.
Carson, by the way, National Dumpling Day. It's also National Daughters Day here. So are y'all calling daughters dumplings?
That's Canada.
National Dumpling Day. I don't know who got that one through, but bless their hearts.
Anyway, I was going to say something. You got me off track there. Shit, Clay. Oh, my grandfather. I asked him, I said, he's 96 years old, of course. You know, he's doing his thing. Bless him. Love him to death. And I said, hey, Pop, because that's what we call him. I said, when you were, coming up, when you were, anywhere from 0 to, I don't know, 60, I said, if a man came up to you and said, I'm a woman, and insisted that you call him a woman and, she, her, whatever, He said, "Sweetheart, I would put that dude in a padded room because there's something wrong with him." And I was just like, "All right, Pop, just want to make sure we're on the same page." It is a delusion, but so much is going crazy. And talking to my grandfather and thinking about how he grew up and what he's been through, it was just kind of eye opening because he was like, I told him that women were now birth givers and chest feeders. He died laughing. I mean, he was just like, seriously? And just laughing as hard as he could. He said, "How'd that happen?" I said, "Pop, honestly, I have no idea. I don't know."
It
But
is interesting to think how much culture has changed just in the past 3 or
100
4
years.
years.
I
It
mean,
really
yeah, well,
has
yeah.
shifted majorly in a lot of ways, at least the public appearance of it, the media attention on certain issues, the media ignoring certain issues. It has shifted greatly. It's a good excuse for dumplings. Do you need a good excuse for dumplings?
Is
Dumplings are
that the
pretty good most anytime.
Are those sous vide dumplings? Is that the way you pronounce it, I think? Mhm. Um, and I hope, all the toys are sanitized. That was a great use, by the way. So, Clay, what else we got before I fall asleep?
Well, let's see. Trying to think. Murtaugh,
Murdoch.
Murdoch, Murdoch.
Murdoch. He loves the kingdom. It's a
I
thing.
saw you, and then it's like Murdoch. It just comes to mind. I'll work on the Murdoch.
Murdoch. I should write it down as Murdoch. Murdock.
I'd still call it Murdoch. Just irritates you. Been doing
True.
that for 2 years. Old habits
Mhm.
die hard. But yes, I understand it's Murdoch. Trust
Had
me,
to
I've
have
had a
been.
few people communicate that to me, and I'm like, it's just a Ellen thing. Um,
Oh, hang on. Cleaner them before they hit the water, no doubt. SBF's parents, I'm sure Clay has, besides the fact that they are probably implicit in his crimes.
well, now I saw where the executor of the bankruptcy proceedings is suing the parents for their property and money that they received from FTX. They have not been forthcoming in surrendering it, and he wants it back. He wants it all back.
Who is he?
John Ray,
Okay.
the executor of the bankruptcy
Yep. I know who that is. Yep.
proceedings.
Yeah, they
So,
they they took the money. I think SBF gave them the money um to buy that property. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, he took out like a billion something M or B dollar loan from FTX before it went under.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they were the ones that were advising them to take out loans instead of salary,
Mm-hmm.
which is fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make them co-conspirators in
And aren't
the
they
act.
tax attorneys?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
tax law professors at
Mm-hmm. Stanford.
a little known law school.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so I mean, he was getting his tax advice somewhere. I can't imagine where.
Hmm.
There were no tax attorneys on staff. There were no tax attorneys retained by FTX. So I have no idea where he could be getting such information and such an idea to pay everybody in loans rather than in salary. And it
No
wasn't
idea.
just him. It was all the big money folks. Now the little peons had to take salary, but all the big money folks got loans, buku loans. didn't even sign papers loans. I can't imagine how they thought this would end. How they thought this could end well. I mean,
I can't imagine.
if you were just going to commit outright blinding theft in the billions of dollars, okay, hide it away somewhere, buy Bitcoin, gold bullion, whatever, and go to some place without an extradition treaty. I don't know. I don't get it.
You know what? Didn't know that. Jose Menendez is, do you know who that is, Clay?
Do not.
The Menendez brothers,
Yes.
the ones
I've
that
heard of
killed their
them.
parents. Jose was their
Yes.
dad.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a bit crooked. He was the producer or something of Menudo. Clay, you know who that is? It's the boy band that had like Ricky, help me.
Ricky,
The Latin dude.
Ricky,
No.
he's the guy from Latin America.
He's a singer. Okay, Melissa, help. 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 No, but he was kind of a boy band producer or whatever.
Ricky Martin.
Yes. They abused him as well, or he did. Jose Martin. Yep. Thank you.
Melissa, got it covered, girl.
What would we do without you? You've got Bateman Freed.
She usually
First place
beats the
has
hell out of
fried.
me.
Who?
Melissa. She usually jumps up with the answer pretty quick. I beat her on
Of
this one.
course. Oh. I don't know. Yeah, Melissa's got it. She's on point.
Yeah, but that's as much as I know about the parents. I don't know if there's anything else that has come out. I haven't seen anything else, but I believe that's what you were referring to, Carson. I'm cheering for John Ray. I hope he nails him. I hope he nails him to the wall.
I have been watching that for the first, I don't know, 6 months she's done it. And then I just got other stuff going on, but I may show up there on Monday because she does it on Mondays. Menendez trial with Legal Bites.
Who's that? Who's she?
Alita. Legal Bites.
Okay.
You know who she is.
I know who Alita is. Legal Bites didn't ring a bell.
Yeah. So
I am not YouTube centric.
I know. That was it, Clay. What? I missed something.
SBF's parents.
Oh. Gotcha. Yeah.
We need to get Ellen to bed.
I'm tired.
Oh, I did throw up Murdoch just real quick. Y'all might have probably have already seen, but he made a plea deal with the feds, one that I'm not sure I completely understand or have all the details on, but he settled a 22 count indictment and agreed to 30 years in prison, 5 years of supervised release. Now, if he does 30 years, I'm not sure how long his minimum sentence would be, but I don't know, 12, 15, 18 years. I don't know. If we had a, prosecutor we could ask, I would get better information, but dude's probably going to be dead before he gets probation.
Never know.
5 years supervised release. I don't understand how that comes into play. He's got a fine of $1 million. And then it says no less than 9 million in assets. I'm not sure what that means. No less than 9 million in assets.
Well, I mean, he's got cars, he's got land, he's got houses, he's got.
So he has to keep more than $9 million?
No, he's giving up no less than.
Okay.
Well,
he's getting fined $1 million. I thought
that's cash, I guess, and then assets.
Okay,
I don't know exactly how many assets.
That just doesn't make sense to me the way that's constructed.
Just telling you what I learned.
I know. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Agreed to cooperate in federal investigation. They don't detail what investigation, but I assume it's drugs.
It could be
Probably going to
drugs,
continue
or
smuggling drugs.
it could be the judicial, because he worked with several different judges
Judges. Yeah.
who were approving the stuff he was doing with the conservatorships
Yeah.
without question. So there are a lot of things that could be. Yeah, that plea deal is nuts, Carson. Definitely.
That could be fascinating as hell.
And he may get a reduced sentence from the feds if he gives enough information to get some of these people put in jail, or I don't know.
Then he'll go in WITSEC. If he goes in WITSEC, does South Carolina get a second chance at him?
Oh, the polygraph. I didn't see the polygraph part. I was
Didn't see yeah.
watching Fitz News, and they were just kind of outlining everything. What's going on with the polygraph? I didn't see that.
We got to get Carson to update us on the plea deal here with the
I know, y'all. I
polygraph
am
aspect.
America strong.
Polygraph is a bit.
Can you search that? Because I don't have the brain power. Has to pass a polygraph to the government's satisfaction regarding. Yeah, Melissa didn't see it either. Regarding what? Come on, Carson. I know you're driving. Don't care. Wreck. No, I'm kidding. Pull over. Let us know what's going on.
This article just talks about, in addition, he may be subject to a polygraph test, could be called to testify fully and truthfully before
Anytime.
grand juries. Yeah.
At any time the other court proceedings. Carson, have you heard if that's about the judges that he was, I wouldn't say working with, but who are working with him, or the drug deals? Because I know Eddie Curtis Smith was delivering drugs for him all over South Carolina and Georgia.
A little update on the $9 million. Apparently, he has to pay restitution to every victim that he stole from.
Mm-hmm.
The feds estimate it's about $9 million. So,
but they've already been made whole. So does he pay it back to whoever paid it?
I don't know. The plea deal requires Murdaugh to pay. Notice I said Murdaugh. To pay restitution to each and every identifiable victim according to the agreement with federal prosecutors. Accuse him of stealing $9 million from clients in a pattern of criminal activity going back more than a decade.
I know that his former law group has made everyone whole. So I don't know. I mean, do they have to pay on top of him, or he has to pay on top of them?
I don't know.
Do they just get refunded what they paid?
There may be
That's
other
kind of
victims. There may be other victims that have not been made whole. Don't know. I don't remember. You know, I don't know all the. I don't know the breakdown or all the details.
EDB covered it last week. Gotcha.
Yeah, and if he, you know, this federal trial, if it breaks out into, you know, drugs or judicial, South Carolina judicial, law tube is going to make bank. That will
I will be there.
Heyday.
I will be there. We will do it.
I will too. That'll be heyday. I mean, I agree that stuff's kind of addictive. It's entertaining as hell. And you get involved in all the little co-conspiracies and motivations and trying to weigh the different evidence and see all the different possibilities that could have occurred. It's that's why Sherlock Holmes is so damn successful. It's a book that takes you on that ride. but you'll be richer if you listen to our channel.
That is true. We give way better financial advice than LawTube. Just saying.
Carson, LawTube wants to be done with Murdoch. They have more than enough to cover.
That is true. But Murdoch is the one getting all the press. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody's all about it.
I'm thinking Depp and Murdoch really made LawTube, though.
Well, actually, it was Kenosha. What's his face?
Who?
That was so rude. The kid in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Oh, that shot the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so terrible. I forgot his name. I apologize.
I can see his face. I can't think of his name.
But that was Rittenhouse. Thank you, Carson. Yes.
Our Rittenhouse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, in Utah with the 8, that's a whole nother mess.
Yeah, LawTube is kind of like a fascinating soap opera.
It's DramaTube.
Yeah. They, the real life is more fascinating than most any fantasy. It really is. And some of the guys
you can't
on
make
LawTube,
this shit up.
Yeah. Some of the guys on LawTube do good work in covering it.
Mm-hmm.
Who shot Gage deserved it. Grosskutz.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
The name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the case, but and I admit I am late to the YouTube party. I got started late. I just wasn't watching all the YouTube videos and following what was going on and Twitter and all. I was still reading books. Paper books.
Okay. The guy that Rittenhouse shot.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Carson. We suck at all the details.
Carson's got the info.
Yeah,
we have to put him on retainer.
We must.
So
he watches way too much LawTube.
But he's here tonight, so
he is.
Hats off to him. Thank you.
Well, I will not take my hat off. You only need a good trial to get hundreds of thousands of. I know, but we do finance. It's important.
Well, I know you've talked about going down to if Murdoch gets another trial.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be funny.
I mean, look, I'll do it and I'll be happy to, plug into whoever LawTube. I mean, I take pretty good notes. So we'll see. But no, I mean, that's not our purpose here, is not to just do a one-trick pony. Here I have a great, courtroom drama, and here it is. We hope to keep you guys just to keep you informed about finance. I think we both think that it's going to get a little crazy in the world, and it's important to know what's going on.
And the more you know, the better prepared you can be. Now, honestly, I've realized that there's some people that don't have a lot of leeway to prepare, but some prep is better than none. Some knowledge and understanding of what's going on is better than none. If Kohlberger case comes on, just post it live and there you go.
Yeah, but that's just not. I hope we're not just one trick pony. The Idaho 4.
Yeah, I don't want to say that because there's more to LawTube than that. But if there's a way to enjoy the ride, because part of YouTube, let's face it, is entertainment. people
Yeah.
want to watch something that they find interesting, something that they relate to, not just something that, schools in all the time. So if we can combine, something interesting, entertaining with some hopefully good information, that'd be the sweet spot. That'd be the ideal to me.
Well, that's why we're trying to shake things up a little bit. And that's why you have me on here, because without me, there would be no entertainment. Let's face it.
That is true. Carson, for now I have a brain dead job, so lots of time listening to stuff, and I don't do I don't do one time except for streams. Can't imagine Ellen on 1.5 or 2 times. I'm not sure how fast it goes. No,
And
actually
it's
on
pretty funny.
this, it's interesting. You talk much slower than you do in person. You will have gaps in your speech oftentimes. You
Like
talk much
you
slower here.
just did.
Yes, exactly. You will talk
right.
much slower here than you do in live and in person. Sometimes
see,
I
Carson.
repeatedly have to ask her what she said because she talks so fast.
What do you mean?
It's funny.
Huh? Okay. Right. Riffing on what Sky is saying, pick a finance case. It'd be interesting to hear a breakdown from your perspective on the FTX and affiliated cases. We are waiting for that to actually occur.
We actually
Rob,
did when it was going on earlier.
and that's when Rob was like, "This is the best breakdown on FTX, SBF, and what's going on." That's how we kind of got a lot of you people to come hang out with us.
Yeah, a lot of our followers are from that night when Rob gave us a really like a 2-3 minute plug. He went on. It wasn't just, here's this, you might want to see this. He gave us a really good plug.
Hey,
We'll
Carson.
always be grateful for that.
Oh yeah. Have fun with your Zoom.
Enjoy it, man. Good seeing you tonight. And we're about to close up. I think Ellen is fading.
And Melissa says she agrees on your perspective on a fan. I have been trying to tell Clay for the past year and a half that there isn't anything going on in the courts or anywhere that does not include finance. Not one. There's always money involved. Murdoch, SBF, FTX, all of the attorneys or their wives who screwed them over before, money. If I can get Clay to understand that, and get LawTube to understand that it's all about finance and money and where is it going and why is it going there and what happened and how does it happen? Ta-da! Clay. That's kind of your deal. If you don't agree,
No,
don't say anything.
We'll see what happens. There are a few cases on the horizon where interest might pick up a little bit, where we have, something to comment on, something that's more public and attention drawing, attention getting. Right now, like keywords, Federal Reserve and soft landing. How many people are Googling that? How many people, have interest on that? Not a whole lot, actually. And I understand that. So we're pressing on. We're continuing on. We greatly enjoy what we do and the people we do it with. Obviously, we want to grow the channel. And we believe that it'll come. That as we, improve the product and learn to adapt it, there have been a couple things like the Jimmy Buffett concert was a little unusual, but we got, 1,000 views on that. Picked up, some additional subscribers. So we're going to keep working and trying to improve the quality of the show, try to improve the content of the show. I know a lot, you watch some of these other channels and the editing, the production that they have is pretty slick. That costs some big money, but we can do better and we're working on doing better. Kohlberger as well needed Sky Ricky. Kohlberger as well needed money to buy drugs as a young man and didn't come from money.
Yeah, he had an addiction to heroin. Was it heroin, guys? I think it was heroin. He lost a ton of weight. It's always about money and murder. Mm-hmm.
Money's a hell of a motive.
Money.
Money is a hell of a motive. And so we'll get there. And we
appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate y'all guys. Yeah, but I'm going to let Ellen off the hook tonight. I know, a couple of people have had to head off for Zooms and other stuff as well. This is a little bit earlier than we do on the Q&A, but I'm going to let Ellen go ahead and call it a night. And I got to admit, I'm a little pooped too. It's been a long couple days because I had to keep all the damn dogs. And
all
the Roomba.
The 2 dogs. If you're going to bring up Roomba, I'm going to bring up what I had to do right after I got home before I unpacked the car. So if you want to go there, you go ahead.
Okay, I'm not going to bring it up, but
I didn't think
one of the dogs gets mad when she's gone and pooped in the floor. And the Roomba
you're going to go
running.
There. He's going to.
Have you ever seen what a Roomba does to a pile of poop on a hardwood floor? Anyway,
I got blessed out. Don't turn me off, Clay. On my way home, and so I didn't even unpack my car. Okay, and I went right in the house, shampooed all the rugs, mopped all the floors, and then I unpacked. So I'm a little tired after driving 4.5 hours yesterday.
After I had already cleaned up all the skid marks.
No, you didn't. You missed some. You tried.
I got most of them and the big ones.
Okay. All right.
You'd be amazed at what Roomba can do with a little incentive.
Okay.
So anybody want any Morky skins? Morky soup?
Moffat? No.
Those dogs, they do that again. They'll have a very short life expectancy.
No, they won't. No. I might, but they won't.
You think they would make a Roomba for dogs that could sense imminent threats? Anyway, y'all, we're going to call it a night.
Good night, Sky Ricky. Good night, Melissa. Good night, Carson. Good night, everyone who was here. Thank you. And we are out.
Good night, y'all. Our time is up. We thank you for yours. Bless.